I gotta do it, man.
Dude. What are you doing? Hugh! Hey, quit screwing around. We are here to do a job, not channel Scrooge McDuck. You hearing me?
I hear you.
This is a game almost no one knows anymore. And the people who do know it usually didn't discover it in a normal way. There was no flashy trailer, no huge Steam sale banner, no big marketing push telling you this is the next big thing. Most people didn't go look for this game at all. They just ran into it. You were watching a streamer or clicked on a random YouTube video, maybe late at night, maybe half distracted, and on the screen was this strange, colorful world. No screaming, no fast cuts. Just someone walking through hills, fighting a few enemies, and gliding through the air. It felt calm, inviting, almost honest. And somehow you stayed. That was very often the first contact with Cube World. You could tell instantly that it wasn't finished. Animations were simple, systems weren't explained well, things clearly felt missing. But instead of pushing you away, that unfinished feeling did something strange. It made you imagine. Back then, around 2013, Cube World first appeared publicly in its alpha form. And what made it even crazier was the fact that it was developed by just 2 people. Or said better, 1 developer and his wife who helped him. No big studio, no publisher safety net, just an idea. And people had seen the story before. Minecraft also started small, rough, unclear and full of gaps. So when people looked at Cube World, they didn't just see what was there, they saw what could be there. New regions, more depth, more systems layered on top of each other. Cube World wasn't loved because it had answers. It was loved because it had questions. And the biggest question was simple. What do you want to do in this world? Because the game didn't really tell you. There was no main quest guiding you forward, no constant objective list, no voice reminding you what to do. You just spawned in this world. And that was it. You could walk in any direction, climb a hill, enter any biome you could reach. And sometimes, very early on, you'd run into enemies that would absolutely destroy you. Not because you played bad, not because you missed a mechanic, just because you weren't supposed to be there yet. There was no clever trick, or no secret weakness or something. You just lost. And strangely enough, that didn't feel unfair. Cube World didn't bend itself around the player. The world existed on its own terms. If something was too strong, the answer wasn't trying harder. The answer was, just come back later. So you turned around, you explored something else, found new areas, discovered new gear. And sometimes, hours later, you'd stumble back into the same region, meet the same enemy again. And this time, you were the stronger. That moment alone made progressing feel incredibly personal. Not because the numbers went up, but because you remembered losing there before. Exploring was constantly rewarded, but not in a loud way. You didn't always get something amazing. Sometimes you just found a new place, a new view or a new path. And that was enough. Movement played also a huge role in that feeling. Running faster, jumping higher, and most importantly, gliding. The simple act of jumping off a cliff and slowly floating across the landscape changed how the world felt. And while there was progression tied to movement, things like stamina, speed, traversal upgrades, it never felt like a checklist. It felt like the world slowly opening up to you. Combat also followed the same philosophy. Different classes, different weapons, each with their own rhythm. Some felt agile and reactive, others slow and powerful. And again, the game didn't over-explain itself. You learned by doing, by failing and then winning, and finding out what works for you. Even companions worked on that idea. You could tame animals and have them follow you around your journey. not because they were incredibly useful. Well, some were and some weren't. You just tamed them because you didn't want to feel alone. That is something that Cube World understood deeply. It didn't constantly shower you with validation. Sometimes the reward was simply having someone or something sharing the road with you. And that's why Cube World became that kind of game for so many people. The kind you played with your friends, late at night, talking about your life while wandering around. The game didn't demand full attention. It allowed space. Space for conversations, or space for silence. And space for forgetting the time completely. And when you eventually turned off the PC, you didn't remember specific objects you completed. You remembered moments, places, journeys, and failures that later turned into victories. Cube World didn't feel like a product. It felt like an experience in motion. Something unfinished, but alive. There was more than enough to make people believe they were witnessing something special. If you try to explain Cube World purely on its systems, it almost sounds unimpressive. There are classes, there are weapons, there's gear. There are enemies that are stronger than you. On paper, none of this was new. But the way Cube World connects the systems is where things start to feel different. Because the game rarely explains itself. When you start, you choose a class. Not with a long description, not with a deep tutorial. You just pick something that feels right. The class doesn't exist to make you powerful. It exists to define your limitations. Some classes are fast, some are slow. Some rely on timing, others on positioning. Combat isn't about outplaying everything perfectly. It's about understanding what you're good at and what you're not supposed to fight yet. You see an enemy, you think, that looks manageable. And then you lose hard. There's no dramatic music cue, no warning message, no scaling to protect you. Just a very clear outcome. You weren't ready. The only games comparable to that would be, for example, Elden Ring with the Tree Sentinel. There you also leave the starting point, and the game puts an enemy in front of you, which you just can't beat as a beginner, no matter how hard you try. But when you come back later, and are fully geared out and leveled up, this enemy doesn't stand a chance against you. But the difference was, the Elden Ring developers thoughtfully placed that Tree Sentinel there. The Cube World developers didn't. And that single decision changed how the entire game feels. Because suddenly, the world isn't designed around you. You are moving through something that exists independently. Progression doesn't happen because the game allows it. It happens because you earn it over time. And that progression isn't just numbers. Yes, you get better gear, and yes, your damage increases. But more importantly, your relation with the world changes. Areas that felt impossible becomes manageable. Enemies that once ended your run becomes just another encounter. And exploration plays direct into this. Cube World doesn't push you forward with markers. There's no glowing icon telling you what to do next. Sometimes you talk to an NPC, and they vaguely mention something. A ruin, a danger, or a place far away. And that's it. No arrow or no checklist. You either remember it, or you don't. So when you actually find that place later, it feels earned. Cube World never fully commits to be a hardcore RPG. And it never commits to be a sandbox either. It exists somewhere between. In many games, freedom is an illusion. You're allowed to choose which object to do next, but you're never free from objects themselves. Cube World removes that layer entirely. You're not playing to finish the game, you're playing to exist in this world. That's why Cube World feels like an adventure, because in a real adventure, you don't know what will happen next. You don't know if today is productive. You see where the road takes you. And for a long time, players trusted Cube World to let this be enough. But at some point, the tone around Cube World began to change. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just quietly. For a long time, players waited. They waited for updates, they waited for communication, they waited for signs of the journey they imagined was still moving forward. At first, waiting felt normal. After all, Cube World was made by two people. Not a studio pipeline, not a marketing department, just development happening slowly. But as months turned into years, something shifted. The silence grew heavier, and the expectations grew louder. Because while Cube World itself stayed mostly the same, the idea of Cube World kept growing. Players imagined systems that didn't exist yet. Endgame loops, deeper progression, expansions layered on the top of the foundation. When Cube World eventually appeared on Steam years later, many people didn't see this as a game anymore. They saw it as an answer for the years of waiting. But on top of this, nothing changed. People were expecting with all those years of development time, improvements, new mechanics, or just new content. But it wasn't there. On the base, it was just the same game released on Steam. And for some that was disappointing. Not necessarily because the game was bad, but just because it wasn't the game they had been carrying in their heads for years. Frustration followed, and with frustration came assumptions. People start asking uncomfortable questions. Where did all the money go? Why isn't there more communication? Was this game just abandoned? Some assumed the worst, that the developer had just taken the success and just simply walked away, and is now living on top of his millions, and ignoring the fan base.
Dude, hey, quit screwing around. We are here to do a job.
But reality is probably different. Warley, the developer, had openly talked about his anxiety and the pressure that came with Cube World's attention. Imagine created something small, something personal, and then watching millions of expectations. Every silence was analyzed, every tweet was analyzed, and every decision was criticized. Cube World stopped being a game for him. It became a responsibility. And not everyone is built to carry that kind of weight. Especially not someone who never intended to run a live service product. So development slowed and communication faded. The two developers were just completely overwhelmed with the millions of players and millions of expectations. Cube World then didn't explode, it didn't crash, it simply drifted out of relevance. Cube World didn't fail in a traditional sense. It just never became what people expected it to become. But the important part, Cube World is still unique in the experience. Not a complete one, not a perfectly designed one, but a sincere one. It offers something that modern games don't. A world that doesn't change you, a progression system that doesn't constantly validate you. Experience that allows silence, wandering, and being bored. And if you approach Cube World today with the right expectations, it's still special. Not as a game forever, not as a masterpiece, but as a journey. There is no grand conclusion waiting at the finishing line. And once you accept that, you stop playing to reach something, you just play to be there. To someone who understands that unfinished doesn't always mean worthless, and to someone who can enjoy a journey that fades instead of having an ending. It remains an amazing game and a beautiful experience. My name is Miguel Costa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, I would highly appreciate if you leave a like or even a follow. If you played Cube World back then, or still are playing, I would love to hear your thoughts about the game and about how everything ended. And if you never played the game or never heard of it, give it a try. You can always refund on Steam games if you played them less than 2 hours. I'm still not fully sure what this channel is all about and where it's heading, but I'd love if you could join me on the journey. And besides that, I would say, see you all in the next video. Bye bye.